Number 15, Bartini-Beriev VVA-14. The Bartini-Beriev VVA-14 was a visionary Soviet aircraft created in the early 1970s to counter the growing threat of American Polaris submarines. Designed by Italian-born Soviet engineer Robert Bartini, the VVA-14 was unique. It could take off from both land and water and was intended to fly using ground effect, gliding just above the ocean's surface to improve efficiency. It had a distinctive appearance, featuring inflatable pontoons for water landings, and multiple jet engines to enable vertical takeoff. Although initially promising, the project was plagued with engineering challenges, particularly with its vertical lift systems, and after Bartini's death, development stalled. Only 2 prototypes were built and neither achieved the full intended vertical flight capabilities. Today, the VVA-14 stands as a fascinating example of Cold War-era innovation, now preserved in the Russian Federation's Central Air Force Museum. Number 14, Blohm & Voss BV-141. During World War II, German engineers at Blohm & Voss dared to think differently with the BV-141, a reconnaissance aircraft that broke every rule of symmetry. The plane featured an asymmetrical design. The fuselage carried the tail and engine on one side, while a separate, fully glazed crew nacelle hung off the other side, offering an unparalleled 360-degree view. Despite its strange appearance, the BV-141 performed remarkably well in flight tests. It proved agile, stable, and perfect for its intended role. However, production difficulties and changing military priorities meant the BV-141 never entered mass production. With only a handful built, it remains a symbol of daring wartime aviation experiments. Few aircraft in history have embodied form follows function more dramatically than the BV-141, showing that sometimes the most unconventional designs yield surprising success. Number 13. Boeing B-737. Pregnant Guppy, one of the most visually unforgettable aircraft ever built. The Boeing B-377 Pregnant Guppy was a supersized cargo plane developed in the 1960s by Aero Spacelines. Its main mission was to transport oversized spacecraft components, particularly for NASA's Apollo missions. Engineers took a Boeing 377 Stratocruiser and dramatically enlarged the fuselage. Number 12. Caproni. CA-60. The Caproni CA-60 Transaereo, built in Italy during the early 1920s, stands as one of aviation's most ambitious and bizarre failures. Designed to carry up to 100 passengers across the Atlantic Ocean, the CA-60 was essentially a flying boat combined with a triple triplane wing structure, 9 wings stacked together. Powered by 8 engines, it looked like a giant mechanical bird. On its first test flight, the CA-60 managed to lift off the surface of Lake Maggiore, but quickly became unstable and crashed into the water. The wreck was deemed beyond repair and the project was abandoned. Number 11. Curtiss-Wright VZ-7. Flying Jeep. The Curtiss-Wright VZ-7, affectionately called the Flying Jeep, was an innovative attempt during the 1950s to create a lightweight, highly mobile flying vehicle for military use. Built for the U.S. Army Transportation Research Command, it featured a small central cockpit flanked by 4 large ducted fan rotors. The idea was to allow soldiers with minimal flight training to hop over rough terrain or enemy obstacles. It could hover, move forward, and even pivot on the spot with surprising agility. However, despite its nimble handling at low altitudes, the VZ-7 lacked stability, especially in windier conditions, and was vulnerable to small arms fire. Number 10. DeLachner HZ-1 Aerocycle. The DeLachner HZ-1 Aerocycle was one of the most daring and dangerous aviation projects ever funded by the U.S. military. Envisioned in the 1950s as a one-man reconnaissance or battlefield transport device, it consisted of a single-seat platform with a large, exposed rotor spinning just beneath the operator's feet. Pilots would control the aerocycle simply by leaning in the direction they wanted to travel. In theory, it required only minimal training. However, test flights revealed numerous hazards. Minor shifts in balance could lead to catastrophic crashes, and the exposed rotor posed lethal risks. Several accidents during testing eventually ended the program. Despite its shortcomings, the HZ-1 Aerocycle captured the imagination of engineers and futurists alike, symbolizing an era when the U.S. military was willing to consider almost anything in its pursuit of battlefield superiority. Number 9. Goodyear inflatoplane. The Goodyear inflatoplane was a bold concept born during the 1950s, a fully inflatable, lightweight airplane designed for rapid deployment behind enemy lines. Made of rubberized fabric reinforced with nylon, it could be inflated in mere minutes using compressed air and was surprisingly strong once fully deployed. It featured a small engine mounted on the nose, capable of speeds up to 70 miles per hour, and a range of around 390 miles. In an emergency, a soldier could carry the folded aircraft in a small container, inflate it, and fly to safety. Though several successful test flights demonstrated its viability, the project was ultimately cancelled due to concerns about the aircraft's vulnerability to small arms fire and environmental hazards. Nonetheless, the inflatoplane remains one of the most fascinating examples of Cold War innovation and creativity in aircraft design. Number 8. Grumman X-29. The Grumman X-29, developed in the 1980s, was an experimental aircraft designed to explore advanced aerodynamic concepts. Number 7. Hafner Rotabuggy. During World War II, British inventor Raoul Hafner proposed an unusual solution for rapidly delivering jeeps to the battlefield. Attach a rotor system and tow them as gliders behind an airplane. Thus, the Hafner Rotabuggy, or flying jeep, was born. The concept was simple but audacious. Soldiers would glide to the ground inside a motorless, rotor-equipped jeep, ready to drive into battle upon landing. Tests were surprisingly successful. The Rotabuggy could be towed behind an airplane and achieve smooth, controlled descents. However, the development of more reliable, capable helicopters soon rendered the Rotabuggy obsolete. Number 6. Hughes H-4. Hercules. The Hughes H-4. Hercules, better known as the Spruce Goose, is an enduring legend of aviation history. Number 5. Lockheed Martin P-791. The Lockheed Martin P-791 is a hybrid airship that blends lighter-than-air buoyancy with the aerodynamic lift of a traditional airplane. Developed under the U.S. military's Advanced Airlift Program in the early 2000s, the P-791 features a distinctive triple-hull shape, providing both stability and lift. It's designed for carrying heavy cargo over long distances. Operating at low costs compared to traditional aircraft, the P-791 can also hover, take off, and land vertically, making it suitable for remote or undeveloped areas. Though originally intended for military applications, Lockheed Martin later shifted focus towards civilian uses, such as cargo transport and surveillance. The P-791 demonstrates how futuristic ideas like airships could soon play a much larger role in both commercial and military aviation. Number 4. Lockheed XFV Salmon. The Lockheed XFV, nicknamed the Salmon, was a daring attempt to create a vertical takeoff and landing fighter for the U.S. Navy during the 1950s. Designed to operate from small ships without needing a runway, it featured a tail-sitter design, taking off and landing vertically on its tail. Powered by a massive turboprop engine, the XFV reached promising speeds in horizontal flight, but faced severe difficulties transitioning between vertical and horizontal flight modes. Pilots found the vertical landing phase particularly challenging. While the XFV never entered production, it provided valuable insights into VTOL technology and paved the way for future aircraft like the Harrier jump jet. Its striking appearance, with cruciform tail fins and giant propellers, ensures that the XFV remains one of the most visually distinctive aircraft ever built. Number 3. NASA M2F1 Flying Bathtub. The NASA M2F1, affectionately dubbed the Flying Bathtub, marked the beginning of NASA's exploration into lifting body designs. Built in the early 1960s, the M2F1 was a low-cost, lightweight prototype, made primarily of wood and steel. It was designed to study how an aircraft without wings could generate lift using only its fuselage shape. The M2F1 was initially towed into the air by a modified Pontiac car before progressing to being dropped from a B-52 bomber. Though basic in appearance, the M2F1 demonstrated that lifting body designs were viable, influencing the development of later re-entry vehicles like the Space Shuttle. It represents the critical early steps of human exploration beyond Earth's atmosphere, proving that sometimes revolutionary concepts start with humble beginnings. Number 2. Avro Canada VZ-9 Avrocar. During the height of the Cold War, the Avro Canada VZ-9 Avrocar aimed to create a flying saucer for battlefield use. This futuristic aircraft featured a disc-shaped design powered by a central turbo rotor, allowing it to hover, maneuver at low altitudes, and potentially reach speeds over 300 miles per hour. Sadly, reality didn't match expectations. The Avrocar struggled with stability and could only hover a few feet off the ground. Despite multiple redesigns and millions spent, the project was eventually scrapped. However, the Avrocar's legacy lives on, influencing hovercraft development and becoming a lasting symbol of humanity's fascination with UFO-like flight technology. Number 1. PZL M15 Belfagor. Number 1, we have the PZL M15 Belfagor, a Polish creation often called the strangest production aircraft ever made. Built in the 1970s, the Belfagor is the world's only jet-powered biplane, developed for agricultural tasks like crop dusting in the Soviet Union. Despite its powerful jet engine, it was slow, loud, and incredibly inefficient compared to traditional prop planes. Its dual-wing structure, combined with the noise of a fighter jet, earned it the nickname Belfagor after a mythical demon. Although it fulfilled its agricultural role to a degree, its impracticality limited production to just a few dozen units. Nevertheless, it remains a unique symbol of Cold War aviation eccentricity.